Hi everybody, greetings from Sarah. I'm super excited to be bringing you my first ever video tutorial. Today I've chosen to use the Rooted in Nature stamp set. This is the large 2-case stamp set bundle from the annual catalog. Everybody's pretty excited about it so far. So today I'm going to be using this tree stamp, and I really love using these other smaller images that you can die cut out and layer onto other projects as well. This crosshatch section here does not have framelits, but it's easy enough to hand cut, and then you have these other great sentiments as well. So let me show you this die cuts here really quickly. They come in this plastic envelope, and you can just use them to cut out your images exactly. So here's the tree I'm going to be using today, but we won't be cutting it out, and I'm going to be cutting out those leaves for the card we're going to do. Okay, let me just get this catalog out of the way here, and we'll get right into the project. I'm going to be using some Stampin' Up watercolor paper. I'm also speeding up the video so you don't have to watch me stamp in real time. There's the tree we're going to use. I'm going to use the Stampin' Write markers instead of an ink pad to ink up my stamps so that I can use multiple colors on the same image. I have my Simply Chamois standing by to clean my stamp with, and a Stampin' Spritzer for the technique. So the first thing I want to consider is the orientation of my stamp and what color I want the side of my ink on. So that's what I'm showing you there. And I want to stamp on ink on the right side so that when it stamps down, it's on the left side. You want to use the brush tip of your marker and the side of your marker, and you just kind of scribble on where you want the ink. I'm going to start with my darkest color, and then I'm going to rotate the stamp and then go to my lightest color. Again, use the brush tip, and that's where the stripe is the widest, and just color it in where you want the space. And then the medium color in the middle there, and you want to be careful when you're coloring with the medium color not to get too close to the edges of the other colors, because you'll pick that up with your marker, but you could bring in a blender pen and mix those in if you choose to. And then I'm going to use the early espresso marker to color the stump of the tree so that that's a good dark color. So I'm going to use the spritzer here. I always like to point my finger in the direction of the spritzer so I know where the spray is going to go, and then just kind of spritz over the colors on my stamp and stamp it straight down. And then because of all the water I've applied here, I want to hold on to it for quite some time because I want the water to go in to the paper only where my stamp image is. And you can see that it stayed where the image is, and I'm going to set that aside and use the Simply Chamois to clean my stamp. So I've prepared the pieces for the card ahead of time, so you don't have to watch me cut all those pieces. I pre-stamped and die cut a few pieces ahead of time, the leaves and the sentiment, and then the other pieces of cardstock as well. So I'm going to fold the base, and then I'm going to open it back up because I'm going to stamp on the base, and I want it to lie flat while I'm stamping. I only want to use the words part of this stamp, so I'm going to use my marker to color in words, and then I'm going to stamp off to tone down the ink color a little bit, and just repeatedly stamp before I ink it again. So I'm stamping 4 or 5 times with one inking from the marker, and I'm just randomly stamping it all over so that the card says words, 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 words. And then the sentiment that I stamped down says words are not enough to thank you for all that you do. So when I'm all done stamping, I'm going to work on some assembly. I'm going to get out my snail adhesive and adhere down a piece of the Nature's Poem Designer Series paper. This is one of my favorites to work with in the annual catalog. It works so well for so many different kinds of projects, man, woman, any occasion at all. Just line it up over to the right to kind of give the card a little bit of dimension, and then I have to cut out the burlap ribbon to the size I need it, and I'm going to use the stitched framelits, the stitch shapes framelits that is, to cut out the tree so that I have a circular shape. I just off-centered the die cut a little bit, and then I'm using the dimensionals on the base of the tree so that that whole portion of the card can stand out because that's our focal image. I'm going to use the glue dots and adhere down the leaves with the glue dots. And I'm going to use 2 leaves at the top of the circle and then 1 at the bottom of the circle. So I've applied 2 glue dots to this leaf so that I can layer the second leaf right on the back of it. I'm just going to flip it over and see how it lays to know where to place it. And then the last leaf goes down in the bottom corner. When I first layer it on, I'm just putting it where I like the way it looks, and then I'm going to measure it up to the card. It sticks out just a little bit too far, so I'm going to move it in a little bit further. I like that, so I'm going to use snail on half of my sentiment because it's only going to overlap my circle for a small portion of it, and then dimensionals on the other half so that it doesn't flat. And then watching someone take the backs of the dimensionals off is torture on a video, so I'm just going to take all the extra ones off camera and then place my tree where I like it, and then add the sentiment. And it's a little bit too long. It doesn't sit where I need it to, so I'm just going to trim either end up a little bit and then place the sentiment. So there's the finished card. I also handmade an envelope using my envelope punch board. Look for the tutorial on how to do that. And then here are some other projects I used with the same technique, just different colors. Covered notebook using rich raspberry, pumpkin pie, and crushed curry. And a 2-page scrapbook layout to finish out the projects. I hope this inspires you to get out your stamps and create something today. Have a great day.